Hello and welcome to the Information Movement. My name is Justin, and this channel will be comprised of how-tos on parenting in this digital age that we and our children live in. This is based on my experiences and my results. These days, the toy guns that are available to our children can be very realistic depending on what age category you are in, which I'll get into in part 2 or 3 of this series. Usually, I've found that most parents feel that water guns and Nerf guns and other like toys pose no real threat. But the reality is that the association of the word gun and toy used together to a child are no different. So the real issue is that association. My experience has taught me that taking that association away negates the probability of an arising issue. So I've always referred to these types of toys as shooters. The term toy implies that it's meant to be played with, and the term gun implies that it's meant to kill or destroy. So, this is my mission to change this terminology that surrounds toys and completely alter the future vision of our children to not associate toys with guns in any way, which also includes how to teach our children about the differences and the do's and the don'ts and the methods that I have made into habits for my own children. And what I found is that repetition is the key. Do the same thing every time you and your child or children are engaged with these toys. And this is safety tip number one is safety glasses. Okay? These right here will protect your eyes from these right here. Easy peasy. So the very first thing that should be implemented is the importance of protecting your eyes. Every time, no matter what, you and your child must wear safety glasses. Before you or your child even pick up the toy, your glasses should be on. This will catch on fast if, and likely only if, you as the parent do it as well. Children learn best by physical examples. This has been my experience on numerous occasions, not just with my children, but many others. Create an area that you and your child go to every time you're planning to engage with these toys. Go to that area each time. Make sure the safety glasses have a place right where the shooters are, or an area that is designated for the safety glasses to be put on before either you or your child even pick up the shooter. This method will ensure that the practice is done the same way each time. A word of advice now. This is a good time to start implementing structure in your child's life. Children crave structure, and structure equals understanding. Children's most common question to parents is often, why? When we tell our children pretty much anything for the first time, and usually many times after, they ask, why? So instead of telling them, because I said so, which isn't an answer, try giving them the reason. And in this instance, it's because not following direction can lead to injury or death. Now, that may be strong words for some little ones, but with this subject, it's imperative to make the subject stick with them. There has to be a shock value to register with them. Otherwise, it may not resonate with them. Remember, your child's brain is still forming. And with that in mind, the knowledge that you're providing on the subject needs to have a solid foundation, or it'll crumble from the start. When you're ready to introduce shooters into your child's toys, start with practice shots at inanimate objects rather than shooting at each other. Stationary targets are much easier and far less frustrating for kids, especially young children, ages like 2 to 5. Use things such as Dixie cups or empty cans at about 5 or 6 feet. It makes it easy for them to hit, it keeps them engaged, and shows minor damage, which makes it more entertaining for them. Another thing to consider is that playing actively with your children forms the bond that'll outlast any connection to technology. They'll rather play with you than with their gadgets, and thus instill the confidence in you in their eyes so that when you tell them anything, they will actually listen. I know that sounds improbable, but that has been my experience. A good percentage of parents today seem to rely solely on technology to entertain their children. While this sounds great in theory, this is exactly what causes the disconnect from your children at the listening and the listening issue that so many children have. They may hear you talk, but they're not listening to what you're telling them. It's kind of like the analogy talking to the wall. So, how do we avoid this? Play actively with your children several times a week. They will be happier and more engaged, and you will be also. It's that simple. Yes, it's more work, but these are your children. If anything's worth it, isn't it them? I have experienced that if the communication between parents and children is clear and open, that any subject becomes clearer and easier to discuss. So, to recap all of this, put on your safety glasses before you're going to play with shooters every time. Answer your child's questions with real life answers, not just because I said so. It's not a reasonable answer. It wasn't when we were kids, and it's still not. Information's mission is to gather like minded individuals together into a movement that will strive to get the toy industry to change the terminology used with toy guns to shooters or another term deemed appropriate for this cause. We are open to ideas. Shooters is just what we used and it's worked, which is why I'm pushing for it. It may not be the answer that everyone will use and apply to their own lives, which is fine. We can find another word away from gun. I'll see you in my next episode, part two, where we'll discuss the different stages to go through as the learning evolves, from Nerf shooters to BB guns and airsoft guns, and to the real thing eventually. I hope that I've grabbed your attention and you'll subscribe. And please leave me comments or suggestions. Thank you, my digital family. I'll see you next time.